Events of the last year and a half have brought to the fore the continuing need to address racial equity, not only in design. How has all of this affected you and impacted you?
Well, you know, I'll be honest, when we saw those depressing images on screen last May, CAREY, I felt helpless. And my first reaction was not knowing what to do. At IBM, you know, Phil has always created this profession of design inside the company as a family. So we brought the family together and he just asked us all, you know, tell a few stories, yes, but what is it that we should do? You know, what is our responsibility in this moment? And the resounding answer coming straight up from all of us as practitioners was, we know how to get at difficult problems and unpack them from a human-centric lens, and let's use that toolkit to create actual human-centered solutions that have a long-tail impact to close what we now perceive as this racial equity gap in our profession.
When you look at that issue, what are some facts, right, that really make the point?
In our industry, there have been a few studies, and in North America, for example, the number's 3%. 3% black folks in the profession, as opposed to 13% in the United States by census.
Right.
All you have to do is walk into a conference or a boardroom or your latest collaboration session, and that'll tell you that there is a quantifiable, observable gap.
So certainly there's the design conversation, but as you're saying, there's the racial equity and inclusion in design conversation, which, I mean, maybe that's more important right now.
Absolutely. The systems of the world are getting more complex every day. The interdependencies between problems are more prevalent than ever before. And so we need more diverse inputs and understandings of these problems in order to more probably solve them correctly.
Project Osmosis, as I watched it, made me cry. It's beautiful. It is something that's needed in every single community.
Vernon is such a remarkable person. You can't help but fall in love with what he's doing with the young people over there.
Creating opportunity for particularly underserved communities can change someone's life. My hat's off to Vernon and his mom, baby girl. This is really a pretty special one.
Behind this rather mysterious door on the south side of Chicago, something remarkable is going on. Project Osmosis is a scientific term that means fluid running from one spectrum to the other. And here, they've added creativity. So Vernon, help me out here. What is Project Osmosis?
So Project Osmosis is a design education initiative. It was started about 20 years ago here out of Chicago, and its mission is to create creative opportunities for people of color.
And I understand it all started with these books.
Yes, yes, it did.
It looks kind of delicate and old.
It is, careful. So these books are famous art course books. These books were actually given to me by my mother, who I affectionately call Baby Girl.
Baby Girl.
Baby Girl, yes,
yeah.
yes. She actually wanted to be a designer. So that was unheard of in the 40s and 50s for a woman of color. And when I was around 5, she actually gave me these books. And that's how I was introduced to design. And I fell in love with it immediately. I told her, you know, baby girl, when I get older, I'm gonna make this ton of money as a designer, and I'm gonna go and buy you a mansion and with dogs and all this kind of thing. And she said, baby, I'm fine, don't do that. And instead is when you see a young person with that gleam in their eyes about art and design like you have, then pay it forward, which is what I do today. So thank you, Mama. I'm so grateful.
I'm so proud.
Thank you, Mama. So, I love you, Mama.
Love you too.
So Vernon, this is baby girl's new mansion you're going to buy.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Build her,
No, it's not. This is actually the vision for the Osmosis Design Center. This community isn't underserved, it's lacking resources. So what this center would become is a resource center where young people can learn about design for individuals like our osmosites here.
Osmosites?
Yes. So
I like that.
The young people are the innovation. And this is just 3 examples. There's a ton of young people who are now in the profession because of Project Osmosis.
So CYAIRA, you met Vernon at a difficult time, didn't you, for you?
Yes, it was a very challenging time. I had just closed my clothing boutique. I'd just been fired from a nationally syndicated show as a wardrobe stylist, and I didn't know what to do next. VERNON really took me outside of my neighborhood and set me in rooms with people who I would never thought I would meet. Doing the fashion workshops with Project Osmosis really inspired me to get back to wardrobe styling. And since then, I'm now a Emmy-nominated wardrobe stylist for a nationally syndicated show.
I met VERNON when I was 16 years old. I used to draw all the time. I had drawings all over my room. VERNON took one look at the drawings and said, come to my studio with me. At the time, I didn't even know what a studio was. He introduced me to this field, the field of design, and what you can do with your art and your creativity. It really opened me up and allowed me to explore and feel valued for what I could do. I have been a designer, I've been an art director, I've been an interactive design manager, and now I'm a film producer.
This amazing building right here, I work on the 15th floor at the American Bar Association as an art director. So I pretty much help them with, branding as far as, magazines, prints, summits, conferences. I work with lawyers and attorneys.
VERNON mentioned to me that you need to rebrand yourself, because if you don't, someone else will.
When you look at me, not really sure what you're gonna think, but I'm a prime example of where I hang out, where I go to eat, what I look like, what I dress. I'm all a little bit of my personal brand, and some of that might be, a little bit rendered to be a little bit more fancy, but hey, I created that.
VERNON and the Osmosites are changing the landscape, introducing the power and the opportunity of design to a community that have been largely viewed as consumers rather than creators. Project Osmosis is quite literally designing a space for design to grow. Talking with the people at IBM, one thing that's coming through loud and clear is the priority they're putting on equity and inclusivity.
Absolutely. We took a very clear stance, especially last year, with a focus on racial equity, specifically in design. We know that things are not on a level playing field, right? Whether it's the talent pipeline, whether it's the way that things are judged and critiqued, that there's bias in the way that we function. There's been a team of designers inside of IBM that's rallied around this idea and put together a whole plan in terms of how we're gonna make a difference in our community and also beyond IBM when it comes to racial equity.
Well, I guess, IBM is so, what's the word I'm looking for? What's a word bigger than huge?
Gargantuan?
That's it. They have a real opportunity when they get behind something to really make a difference.
The size that we have as IBM, with all the design talent in particular that we have, we can galvanize and make a difference. And why don't we take advantage of all that scale, all that knowledge and talent to make that difference? And I think, we're definitely primed to do that.
As a nation, this past year has shown us we need to think a lot more about inclusion in the workplace. This initiative by IBM looks at racial equity in the workplace and how to design for it.
Designing a culture is nothing but a win-win situation for both parties, and I think more companies need to do something like this.
I really commend their effort to talk the talk and walk the walk with equality for all employees.
When you're a large global organization like IBM, how do you go about redesigning your internal culture? Because when you're really big, it's difficult to change. But when you do, the impacts are far-reaching.
Welcome to Austin. This is the home of the Global IBM Design Program. And listen, I know on the show, America by Design, you work a lot with the physical products, and that's fantastic. I'd like to introduce you to the idea of user experience design. Before we get into all of that, though, let's go for a ride.
My first time in Austin, what did you want to show me about the city?
Well, first of all, it's a great city, but it is a city that has some fairly stark and obvious institutional racism passed down through legacy. Over your shoulder is the University of Texas. Just south of that, right behind you, there is the State Capitol building, and downtown is 1 block south of that. So really we have education, state government, and the city center, access to finance right there.
Now I'm looking at the east side, and it's totally different.
The reason why it's that way is in 1928, the city of Austin created a master plan. They designed a way to segregate black folks into what they called the Negro zone. And what that ended up doing is disenfranchising several generations of black families through redlining and other institutions.
It does illustrate how much design, right, design thinking shapes how we live and the experiences that we have, whether they be good or bad or...
That's right. I mean, whether you're a city planner designing the actual city one lives in, or whether you're designing software experiences, design is where the influence is. So at IBM, we're becoming introspective, and what is it that we can do to make a difference? And that's what racial equity in design is all about, and that's what we're working on today. Last May, we didn't know what to do. Felt a little helpless, to be honest. And the clear consensus was, we have to take action. We have a designer toolkit that can make a difference. We've got to do that now. We know that the number of black designers in the industry is way too low. 3% really, compared to the 13% black folks in the country, according to the federal census. And so, we know we've got a problem right there. And our community of black designers at IBM came together and made a commitment to understand that problem and take specific action. We knew we could impact the experience of black designers at IBM and across the industry. And so the idea is, when we create this, and this is the important part, diverse and empowered teams, they can take on challenges like the very design of culture itself. In this case, it's the idea of being a black designer in a design team.
The experience doesn't happen when they start the job. It starts way before.
As a black designer, especially you're new, coming in, like how do I find a mentor, someone to help me through the process?
I think this is worth some validation, some user research, right? Yeah.
Raven, this is so interesting. What's a tangible thing that came out of all of this effort, collaboration?
Yeah, so one thing that we created and published was a field guide targeting design managers and team leads and people in positions of leadership. And mainly the goal, again, is to recruit, hire, retain, and even progress black designers and ultimately all underrepresented racial minorities.
One thing we also created was our podcast called It's About Time. It's a great glimpse into the world of black designers here at IBM.
Today we have CAREY Bond from America by Design, an industrial designer and a broadcaster. Thanks for being here with us.
Nigel, it's great to be here.
Our personas are black creatives in the industry, but also it's geared for people who are really interested in helping and who want to better understand our experiences.
What's going on here is fantastic, but how do you scale it?
Well, in fact, CAREY, we've already begun doing so. Just last month, we hosted the conference, Black Design, Past, Present, and Future. And let me share with you a thought from one of our attendees. I've never seen so many impactful, truthful, delightful black designers in one space. And let me tell you, it was epic. Y'all are making a community, a welcoming home for black designers in the industry. So what does that really mean? That means that this project really doesn't shine. We don't get to innovation unless we have the citizen designer join us in this idea of pushing towards a redesign of the very culture we're involved in. CAREY, we have a real chance here to impact the entire design industry. This conference is an example of how we can build on this work of designing our very culture. And now that IBM can do it, we're sharing it with the world and asking others to join us.